Did this just go off? Can you see that? Is it still recording? Can you still see me in there?
Yeah, I can see you.
Perfect. Does it say record on it?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Good.
Solid.
Thank you. It is certainly a pleasure to always be with you and to share information and our experiences, and it's just a blessing to see you all growing and getting your healths back. It's exciting. I love the fact that we're working as a team. We're healers. We act like healers. We're ethical. We're moral. We're godly, and our job is to make you feel good and happy and healthy. And for those that are the more spiritual ones, we're going to tune you into the God channel. My information is tested on humans for 40 years, so I'm giving out what we see, and our ratio of getting people well from some of the most devastating problems is well established worldwide for years. I've never had to advertise ourselves because our work precedes us. The obstruction to the flow of energy equals dis-ease. Now, like I said, I've only detoxed about 150,000 people in my life. Jensen, 300,000, he told me. That's a lot of people, and that's a lot of experiences. So all I can say is we try to speak from experience. We don't know everything, but we sort of try to speak from experience. And I can tell you, we've regenerated a lot of good cases, let me tell you. Simplicity right now in this world is key for all of you to keep everything simple. Your desires simple, your thoughts simple, your diet simple, everything simple, because the mind is caving in on itself. The idea is that your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. So I'm not advocating fruitarianism to live, although it'd be nice. That's when I felt the best I ever felt. But maintaining that level of energetics and chemistry is very difficult because most humans are not balanced in their consciousness. The mind is dominating their emotions, they're full of desires, and they're being sucked into the lower levels of creation, which suck you into the lower levels of food. I'll tell you, your eating is directly related to your state of consciousness. Directly. So your awareness dictates what you eat, because ATP is gasoline. It's a battery. It's a power for the cell. You lose the power to the cell, guess what you lose? The cell. So carbon and oxygen is essential. So sugars are essential, far more than fats or amino acids. They are essential. You don't get them, you're not on the planet. I am not a lover of wheatgrass. I knew Ann Wigmore personally. I can just say I'm an alfalfa guy if you want to pump the greens. Far better green juice, more powerful, much more nutrition than wheatgrass is alfalfa. Not starch. That thing packs the body with glue. Gluten is a glue. Protein stinks and puts the body full of acids. Dairy products full of mucus. Good food. Mucus, good food. Oh, yeah, we got to get over those days. It's enough to say that the less complicated of the digestive material, the better you'll feel. You know, everything done easy leads you or lends you more energetics and makes you feel better. We're just wrapped up in this bull crap of so much chemistry. More chemistry, the better. Bring it in. Nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. Not true. B12s, that's a byproduct that comes out of the adrenal glands. You see people on raw foods here where their B12 is skyrocketing. You see, I mean, this idea of needing meat for B12 is ridiculous. That's the biggest war there is out there, and I've talked a great deal about it. I'm not going to say any more about B12. Get away from this crap of protein complex nutrition. It isn't shown in nature anywhere except in carnivores and in some omnivores, but this is not in frugivores or herbivore diets. Complex chemistry doesn't exist. Herbivores a little more than frugivores because of their more extensive digestive system. Nutrition is simply just living food, full of nutrition. This idea that we have to pack nutrition into the human body and somehow that's going to cure us of all our ills is ridiculous thinking. That's going back and putting the Homo sapien as a major omnivore. And it's just, there's no proof to that. There's no realistic common sense or scientific evidence. We're eating that way but there's nothing in the body to show that we're designed that way. We always blame the raw foods for the problems. We always blame the fruit. We always blame the foods for doing it. That's the magician looking over here. So we're blaming the foods. What we don't understand is the human body. What we don't understand is toxicity, acidosis, the lymph system, and what type of diet does it really take to clean this system out. On a raw food diet, you're going to get new hair. You're going to get rebuilding of teeth. On the process, you could have some healing crisis that would take some off. There's no question, because remember this, the body always dumps its weaknesses. I told you about my first client who came to me that she lost all her fingernails going from a New York City diet to an ashram in the Bahamas that was eating nothing but fruit and fasting. So that radical change, her body just dumped her fingernail, dumped everything that's weak so it could rebuild it. Common sense. So let's look at some foods for a minute, okay? So we're talking about meat, you know, meat, healthy, right? All you have to do is get a knife and cut off a piece of your meat somewhere, cut a piece of your hindquarters, cut a piece of yourself off. That's exactly what meat is. It's a bunch of cells and two fluids, and that holds true with every creature. Bunch of cells and two fluids, and that's what you call healthy. Well, the problem is that as soon as something dies, putrefaction in terms of meat and blood comes setting in. Putrefaction, you can smell that pretty quick. How fast does fish stink when you pull it out of the water? Pretty quick, huh? And we consider that nutritious. We don't, but some people do. What do we got? We got a bunch of amino acids that have become peptides and polypeptides forming proteins. Well, now it's funny how the body has to then re-break that all down to amino acids, doesn't it? Because tissue is formed from proteins or amino acids, right? And amino acids then forms the peptides and polypeptides, and then the protein, the meat, the structure. But when we go to eat that structure, what are we eating? We're eating dead tissue. We're eating a structure that's breaking down and rotting, and we like that. And yet we consider that good for you. High phosphorus, high iron, low cal magnesium, the opposite of what we want. So here on protein, most people can't just go out and eat raw meat. There's nothing designed on a human that would give you an indication you're a meat eater. You don't have the desire to rip something apart. And matter of fact, unless it's on the Barbie, unless you put some spices or cook the crap out of it or whatever, it doesn't taste good. Now, some people like raw meat, no question, I've seen that. Nasty to me, because this is just putrefaction at its finest. And so we consider that healthy. Well, most fruits and vegetables are 70 to 80% base chemistry. That's your calcium, magnesium, your sodiums, your potassiums, your zincs. These are the alkaline chemistries. So you're eating a food and meat predominantly acidic. Well, you don't hit your blood with a pH below 7.4, 7.3, or what's going to happen? The law of homeostasis, where now the body has to rectify that acidosis in a timely manner, or death is imminent. You can't run an acid blood without dying within a few minutes. Remember that. So when you eat a lot of high proteins, you're acidifying the blood. Well, see you later. Body has to find alkaline chemistry, base chemistry, and of course calcium is the predominant base chemistry of the human body. So it'll steal it out of your connective tissue, out of your bones, because you can't eat a high phosphorus diet and survive well. And yet medical doctors push that. And nowhere are you going to find cooked foods better than raw foods. Only when you're detoxing too rapidly and you want to slow it down, or you want the body to stop healing itself, then eat cooked food because it's dead. Beans. What's healthy about a bean? It's a dormant food. It has high enzyme inhibitors to keep it from sprouting, which creates high phytic acid, which is very antagonistic to calcium, soy being one of the highest phytic acid foods on the planet. It's highly concentrated, very difficult to digest, high sulfur. Everybody has gas on beans. Really nothing nutritious there. Sprout it, and now we can have conversation. But you're back to the plant life. Good for herbivores, but we like that plant to sprout and then bear some fruit, and then that's what we like. Milk. All right, if you pasteurize it, it's only a few molecules away from plastic. So is that good? Plastic white stuff, goop, mucus? You know, after age 2, remember, after age 2, except for a few Brits, after age 2, most people have lost the enzymes to digest lactose. Lactase is gone. And milk is the most hardest food to digest. After the certain growth stage, protein, high protein and fat type milk isn't conducive to humans. Yes, we can argue goat's milk is a little better for babies than cow's milk. Cow's milk is horrible for humans. But, you know, we're selling it. The raw, now our government's trying to eliminate all raw milk. Well, you need to eliminate all milk because it's all bad for you. There's nothing good about milk, one of the most mucus-forming foods on the planet. And once you start getting tumors building up in your body and a lot of mucus in your sinuses, your head pressure's going crazy, then you can argue with me about milk, and you still want to drink it? Nothing healthy about milk. High-fat butter, raw butter, nothing healthy about high fat. There's nothing healthy at all. You have to have some essential fatty acids, no question about that, just like you have to have some amino acids. Carbon is the main print of humans, not nitrogen, and carbon is sugars. So you can't get around sugars. So you've got your milks, they're worthless. You've got your meats, I mean, they're worthless. I mean, this is unbalanced chemistry. Now, eggs. I've used raw, unfertilized eggs in highly depleted cases before. I have done that. I have. Cooking coagulates everything. So if you're going to argue eggs, then eat them raw. But I can say that any time of high protein, you'll smell your body stink within a quick order eating eggs. Notice how they stink and very putefactive. What else have we got? Breads, grains. Someone argued how grains are healthy for you. What is healthy about a grain? What is a grain? It's a polysaccharide. Now, polysaccharide is complex sugar. Is there something healthy about complex sugar? Hell, half the people are bitching about sugars in the first place. And then they're eating grains? That's complex sugar. That's a lot of fructose and glucose bonded together. But again, fairly dormant concentrated foods in that respect. We don't give them to animals. Farmers don't give grains to animals unless they want to fatten them up and keep fat on them. Don't need to. You don't need to give corn to horses. But check the difference between grain eaters and raw food eaters. Big, huge difference. And grain eaters look like grain eaters. You know, there's nothing healthy. Acidosis. And again, all the dog food, all the dog manufacturers are trying to put grain-free. Well, why would the grains are so healthy? Why are all the, like Purina and stuff, trying to get away from grains? They're not healthy. There's a big reason why America is obese. You know, grains are bad, bad, bad. And they're mostly acidic, except for quinoa and maybe millet. You know, you have some alkaline grain, but you still have a complex sugar on your hands. Well, what's left there? Fruits and vegetables and berries and melons. So I hope this helps you to understand that a raw food diet is superior in every single way, in its chemistry and in its physics, in its electromagnetic energies. Because we've been eating diets like that gentleman is eating, with all the milks and all the butters and all the meats and all the eggs, that's how humans got to this level of cell decay. We have years of creating this, generations, thousands of years of creating this. Now, we have to uncreate this. We have to get back to the living presence of life, back to nature, back to some sunshine. Most people don't get into the sun at all. And then all the vitamin D issues. Get into raw foods. No one's saying you're going to be a perfect raw foodist, and it doesn't matter. Because it's going to take, you know, a long time to unwind the human misery. The rapid deterioration of the Homo sapiens species. And it occurred from all the milks and the butters and the cheeses and the meats. Not from fruits and berries and melons. That's what we use to get people well. And you know what's funny? We can get anybody well at any level. So this is some of the problems that we face here. The unawareness and blaming fruit and vegetables and berries and melons. That's got to be the problem. I'm losing my teeth and I'm losing my hair. They've got to done it. Now my hair's growing back because I'm eating meats and all that. You're stimulating yourself. These are high stimulants. And you're going to find that you'll reach a plateau, and now the hair is going to rapidly go off the other way. You're going to see the acidosis setting into the body, the congestion building back up in the body. Do not lose focus of truth, which is living foods are always superior to anything else. And we don't have anything on us to show us in eating anything other than fruits, berries, and melons, and maybe some tender greens. No question that man could get away with that and is getting away from that with that. I don't have a problem with it, but why did we invent a juice extractor for? Get rid of the cellulose, didn't we? Because we don't handle cellulose well. Look into the mother, look into the earth. That's the largest laboratory we have. That's reality. That's what's going on here. Not what man thinks, not what scientists think, not what biochemists think, not what UCLA thinks. These guys are lost in worlds beyond. They have no clue of simple reality anymore. Because this site is for those that are healers. I'm building you all as healers, as many of you as you want, because we need you. People are suffering. And look at how many of you guys have overcome your suffering. It's just incredible. My heart is pounding big because I'm just so proud of every one of you guys. Do not get caught up in these people that try to bring the smoke screen in, or those that got trapped in the illusion that didn't understand why they were having problems. That's why I'm doing this. You know, all these foods, look at nuts. Everybody thought nuts was healthy. Look at those of you that have found that that's not the case. There's a hard shell around a nut for a reason. Coconuts, obviously, incredible food sources, but all your other nuts, very complex foods of proteins and fats. Need very little if you use nuts at all. But when you're detoxifying, you get rid of these concentrated heavy foods because you need astringents. You need foods that'll clean the body, refurbish the body. Well, now wait a minute. If you have to get away from proteins to clean and refurbish the body, why would you eat them in the first place? Cells are being replicated on the old consciousness of omnivorish thinking and old family values and everything else. So your cells in your body, you're educating and uplifting the very cells in your body. And it just takes a while to get everybody on board, to get this anionic, dehydrated, coagulated fluid called the lymph system up and moving properly, and getting the adrenals to get the kidneys to filter again. That's what this is about. And once you do, boy, you start getting that balding going away. You start getting the pressure out of the heads. You start getting nerve regeneration, blood vessel regeneration, tissue regeneration of all kinds. That's what's exciting. But man has just walked down so many pathways. There's so many books and so many opinions, blah, 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 blah. In reality, it's much simpler than that, guys. Very much simpler than that. Just eat your fruits and veggies and quit worrying about it. If you want green drinks, okay. I have no problems with any of these things, but in detoxification, people reach plateaus. We see this every day, and you guys that have sat in with me, you've seen that. I've showed you this, where you reach plateaus and people have to let go of their vegetables and dig deeper into the world of fruits and berries. This is what we see and what we've experienced. It took me a lot of years to get here, and studying the power and frequencies of fruits and berries and melons over vegetables, and the astringents and the antioxidants led me down the road to really seeing it, and then applying that to humans in detoxification, and you see it every single time. There are some of you that are too sensitive to fruits. Okay, go slow. Go slow. Get your adrenals up. It isn't that the foods are bad. Here's the illusion again. Blame the foods. Blame the foods. No, don't blame the foods. Blame your body. Blame where you are at in your genetic stance and in your lymph system. And I've said this before. You got to realize meat eating comes with its high risks. And the high risk of meat eating is the hormones and steroids and neurotransmitters that are in the meat from the animal. And in a kill case, I mean, look at fish. You see how a fish fights? Can you imagine the epinephrine in that fish? Yeah, wow, this is good. Yeah, meat feels strong. Yeah, wrong kind of meat feels strong. Wrong kind. The same thing as taking steroids. And that's why I think we have literally neural burnout, because we have adrenal burnout from consuming too much meat. Too many neurotransmitters from dead animals, and that's where you're running. You ain't getting energy from dead necrotic tissue. It's from neurotransmitters. So it's just interesting, and the fact that we've done things in the past, like be caveman eating on meat, that we want to return there for some reason because we were healthier then, that's bullcrap. That's all bullcrap. Man didn't live long back then. There's not longevity anywhere unless you go to the islands or you go to pharmaceuticals, which are kind of holding people up like a brace before they fall, which is ridiculous. And so we're just really out of balance at this level of creation. Need to bring it back in balance. Meat is not the nutritional side of life. It's what nutrition was made from. Granted, when the Homo sapien went into hostile environments. And of course, yes, we had to learn how to kill, as gross as it is. But look, I just saw this in Alaska the other day. This a girl, she was probably just 18 or 19. She killed her first moose, and she threw up doing it. She didn't want to kill it. She had to eat. But it made her nauseous and sick because she killed a living thing. I also noticed that vegetarianism didn't yield any healthier differences than meat eating, that's for sure. When you look at a typical vegetarian, back when I got into this, they would be the beans and the grains, and they would eat everything else, but they just wouldn't have the meats. They'd have the pastas and everything else. So crude vegetarianism in the past, of course, definitely didn't yield anything better. And then, of course, people didn't understand the adrenals and neurotransmitters, and what about the meat kicked up the neurotransmitters, which kept the nervous system up, and blah, 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 blah. So people didn't understand that. Food is power. I know you're the first one that said that properly. Food is power. The right food is more power. Doesn't matter what you're used to. Doesn't matter if you're suffering, you have to change your consciousness. If you sit there and say, I can't do it then suffer all you want. I only care for those that care for themselves, that need to get well. Take a look at what you're bringing up here. Remember that, fork over knives or something like that? Take a look at what you're bringing into you chemistry-wise. Any of you guys on milk and dairy products, there's no way you don't have sinus or any type of congestion, bronchial or lungs, because that's the dairy proteins are the worst in terms of mucosic responses. What is our species? What kind of vertebrae are we? Are we animals that eat vegetables? What do they look like? Oh, horses, cows, elephants? Nah, it's not humans. Omnivores. Yeah, omnivores. Dogs, hogs, chickens, and bears. Oh, that's not humans. Carnivores. Oh, that's the cat family. Well, that's not us. What's the last category? The 4 basic vertebrates on the planet. Frugivores. Primates. Man comes in and says, you know what? I moved from my island home into the paleo homes, and I can't survive well because I'm designed as an islander, a primate-ish, and yet I moved into hostile northern climates. How do I survive? So I kill animals. I have to preserve them. I have to can and cook, so I just literally destroy the chemistry of my foods. So how do you get well doing that? So when the Eskimos were discovered, remember, their average age was only 40-some years old. Too much protein. So the proteins are a big problem for us. And we just keep eating them and eating them and eating. And as long as you do, you will always suffer. Amino acids is the order of the day, and you'll get those through non-protein sources of fruits, berries, melons, and veggies. So it's obvious by now in today's time that you understand raw foods are number one, uno. We've been taught that eating dead animal meat is healthy. Who said that? Again, who are saying these things? You got to understand a lot of what you believe in is bullcrap. A lot of what you believe in is propaganda. The type of food you need to eat to get well. And I'm not saying you have to live on fruits, berries, and melons forever, but you certainly need to while you're getting well, and then balance out. That's okay. Nobody has to be a fruitarian. No one has to be all raw all the time. Nobody's with a club over you. This is an individual experience. So strict up. I don't care if you're a cowboy, and I don't care if you're a Muslim, and I don't care if you're black, and I don't care if you're from another planet. As long as you have a physical body, there's certain laws you have to follow and certain ways to get well. So no matter what you're used to eating, you have to change that. If you sit there, I'm not going to change my diet, well, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. It's your ride. But food is key, number one. No question. Don't just do herbs and think that's a magic. Your diet is a magic too. Well, now wait a minute. If I have to stay off proteins to get my body well, what does that say about proteins? I don't know. I can't figure it out. if you don't believe me, take someone with seizures, get them away from the seizures, then give them proteins. And I'll show you how they'll go right back to having seizures again. So, you know, it's just all these cases, you'll see what protein does in these cases. But you cannot get well with cancer or anything else eating dead animals. Impossible. Try taking an MS patient and getting them from a wheelchair to walking with meat. You're not going to do it. You can't do it. And it's just that's the issue. So just remember that. If you have to get rid of these foods to get well, why would you eat them back? Desire, like, sense of emotional balance. Okay, I'll buy those. But don't say that for a sense of health because it's inaccurate. The idea that we have these canines that are big enough to rip open flesh is just, that's like a sleeping soul that just is living with the herd animals and not thinking much outside of the box. That's too bad. Sugar is carbon. We need carbon. What's the deal? Carbon is the main move for all vertebrates. The cat family has the hardest time getting it, and you can tell it by their lack. They don't have any muscle on them. They're always sleek and thin. You can always see their ribs. They sleep 22 hours a day. They have no endurance. That's a meat eater. Primate, sugar eater. Rip your face right off of you. They showed that in primates, that if you introduce meat into a primate family, that not only makes them aggressive, which is, you see that in man everywhere, but they can get extremely aggressive. Even omnivores can't handle high-protein diets. And again, on TV the other day, was just talking about the grizzly bear diet being 65% sage-grass and all this other stuff. And it was like, well, I'm glad you're talking about it because most people think bears are carnivores. They're not carnivores, they're omnivores. And this is the kind of misguided thinking that's going on out there. And it's being fed by National Geographic, which is one of my favorite people. It's being fed by some of these people who are giving misinformation at times. And it's feeding into the consciousness of man. And unfortunately, we need to feed truth into the consciousness of man, not lies. There's no argument on this planet that can tell you that cooking food makes it better nutritionally. That's stupid. Or that we need to do that. Because nowhere on this planet do you see that, only in man's mind. You don't see that in the animal kingdom. You only see it in man. Now, who's the sickest on the planet, the animals or man? So take a look at these common sense things and carry them on. How many animals do you know think of that? Is this going to give me enough calories for the day, Mom? What do you think? No. Because your body's already adapted to living foods, and then you start putting these dead, complex starches and proteins, the body goes, nope, nope, nope. Chemically, for all the good nutrition that you find in the berries and the fruits and the melons, you can't get better out there. Better dead animals? No. Better milk? No. Better vegetables? No. You know, I mean, if you were power packing some green juices, well, of course we have more nutrition in that. But the answer isn't always nutritionally, is it? You start to realize that the body can sustain itself on very little nutrition, actually. Take a look at most animals and what they eat, and you'll see not a lot of nutrition. And yet a lot of people are worried about that side of the fence, and they should be worried about the lymphatic side of the fence. That's the one. That's the booger bear. But I tell you, there's a big difference between vegetarianism and fruitarianism in the health. Night and day. Some people are real toxic at first, and sometimes we have to use diet first. You've seen this on YouTube where people are so toxic they can't even do the fruits, berries, and melons yet. They have to do the vegetables first. They have to dig slowly. You know, and that's a problem. But you can dig slowly. Don't let anything stop you from getting well. Get your power back. Grab your strength back. Don't let anybody run you over. You're the beautiful one here. You're the soul. You're the God force. And you've got to accept that and take that on. Check this this pH of your mouth, because it sounds like your mouth is very acidic. And that's the problem, is it isn't the fruit, it's the mouth and the acidosis of the mouth. Fruits generate, when you eat fruits, you should be generating an alkaline saliva. You won't get your teeth enamel breaking down with alkaline saliva, because alkaline saliva is what rebuilds. So that's the other problem. Some of these citruses do leave a little acid response in the mouth, unfortunately, but should create an alkaline response. And I think it goes to the poor quality of the foods and the picking unripe of these fruits and stuff like that. You have to consider these other issues. If you just blame the fruits for losing your teeth, then that's off point, because we have so many people on fruits and nobody, I mean, you might hear one or two people say they have teeth problems. This is already an existing problem. By the time you notice this, it isn't the little fruit you're doing. You know, because something tastes sweet, we judge the amount of sugar something has in it by the sweetness of it. But eat a piece of bread. A piece of whole grain bread, not overly sweet, but it is hundreds of times sweeter than fruit. So you see what I'm saying? It's not the flavor that makes it sugar rich. But if you'll notice, as your consciousness grows, as you start eating higher off the ground, you'll notice that you can no longer return to the lower levels, and that the lower levels of eating breed lower levels of thinking. If you can make it a lifestyle and you carry it, great. If you can carry 80%, I'm happy. If you can carry 75%, I'm happy. I'm happy if you do 50-50. Because we know we're making a difference. I'm not hard on any one of you guys. If you go below about 75-25, you can forget detox. And you're only going to detox for a short period of time. And the same thing if you go up 100%. If you go up 100% raw, you're going to detox really good for a while. You can't expect to be full of energy if you kill what you eat, you know, and cook it up and everything. Oh, where are you getting your energy from? Neurotransmitters and things like this for a while, and then we have to eat meat full of neurotransmitters to have any kind of energy, and then we mistaken that energy for nutrition and health, so we have to have meat because it gives us energy. I mean, it's all insane. If you think the Homo sapien is a caveman dweller that's eating on dinosaur legs and stuff, you have a misconception of the human being. The human being is like the primate. We're all tropical species. We originated in the tropics and we're a tropical species. We might be living in Alaska and Siberia and some of these places that are hostile, but look at what you have to do. And look at the diet you have to maintain. And look at how old you look when you're young. When you get into these higher levels where the lymph is filtering through the kidneys properly and everything is good, you will lose the awareness that you even have a physical body. When your body works well, it's like a brand new motor from Detroit. You can't even hear it running. I'll say this much, you want to maintain probably a 75% raw food diet. After you come down off your detox. I think that's a great level. 80 would be even better, but 75 to 80% raw, then the rest steamed vegetables and stuff like that. I highly recommend, if you want to go back to proteins and dead animals, that you do that very minimally, to be honest with you, and I suggest you never go back to dairy products. You know, but I don't know, in a world like this, how you can avoid that. For those with the candida problem, grains are always going to be a battle. That sort of thing. So if that's a battle for you, once you get the candida pretty much under control and your body cleaned out, the craving for grains actually goes away. And to me, I can't stand breads and things like that. To me, grains are definitely not in the picture. I can only tell you that I get my own China study here because I have just hundreds of clients in each country that's on this planet almost. We even have a few people in China. So we have a lot of clients everywhere, and our healthiest people that we see, and the long-lived, is always the islanders. Always the islanders. Why? Especially those older islanders that was raised exclusively on fruit. Remember, I said up in these fruit levels, so one way you can tell you're getting alkaline, cut yourself. Of course, some of you might not want to do that, but Arnold Ehret recommended it. I've proved it. And when you get way up there on the fruit and the berries and the melons and you're way up there, you can cut yourself. It won't bleed, and the next day you won't even see where you cut yourself. That level is phenomenal. You see Roger, he wasn't even at that level. And you see what his body did in that video? the quad, the regenerate, the severe scoliosis to the right, the fractured upright femur, the body pulled that leg straight, the femur and the spine at the same time. Like the body just rearranged itself. What did that? So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. And he wasn't up at that all fruit level. So when people look at fruits and they say, well, there's not a lot of minerals here. No kidding. We don't need a lot of minerals. That's the point. Minerals are not bioavailable like people think they are. They're not used as nutrients in some ways. Some ways they are. Because we're frugivores, honey. And this is the thing. Babies don't like vegetables so much. Fruits. Tasty, love them. I mean, you can see these young children, if they're anything, you can say they're more intuitive than we are because they're just being. They don't know yet. They're not conditioned so much. Ooh, I like this. And it's always to the fruits, berries, and melons. I'm telling you, I've done this for 40-some years. I see this. I see it all the time. We have the raw foodist. And those raw foodists and those mamas that are raising those babies raw, you guys are responsible for changing the planet and the consciousness. You all need to be commended. You mothers that are plowing through this and raising your babies raw, I'm so proud of you. You need to stand on the top of the mountain and say, yeah, baby. To forget about the world that doesn't know anything. Let them wallow in the pig slop. What we need to do is get in and get these mamas and daddies thinking about genetics and how to remember their genetics, strengthen their bodies before they conceive and have children. We must unwind this if the human race wants to exist here. Not up to me, of course, but if we can help and change the focus of creation at this level, even though it's already created, you know. A lot of people that eat a lot of proteins and fats as the mama also make the milk that way, and then babies can't handle breast milk, because if you notice, babies can't handle high protein and high fat. And that's what these stupid formulas are all about. You're off of stimulants. Except for that piece of fish, you're off of neurotransmitter stimulants. So your adrenals are going to go, ah. And that's what they do. Anytime you pull somebody off of meat, you're going to go, ah. And that's because meat is neurotransmitters, acts like steroids and hormones. Take you a little while to come back out of that. And a lot of people mistaken that for the need for protein. No. That's not a need for protein. That's a need for neurotransmitters. That's your nervous system. That's what makes you feel tired or up. Movement or not movement. That's the nervous system. The autonomic nervous system. And of course, the more proteins you hit the kidneys with, the more you damage the kidneys. Because again, acids have more of a corrosive effect on the human body. When you have a food that's higher in electrolytes, they have more of a cooling or healing side of it. What's healthy about starch? Yes, people have eaten them. Yes, people have eaten them for thousands of years. Yes. Well, take a look at where man is. If you want to look at where man is and what his diet has yielded, just take a look around. So you got to work with cleaning up that bowel. And some people might be a little thin at first, but you can put on good weight later. The big key is focus on cleaning that body out and restoring proper pH balance and health. Put on the weight all you want, but put it on right this time. Put on muscle, don't put on fat, but fix your body. You know, it's one thing to eat a few raw foods, but it's another to get into the body deeply and detoxify it. These are all different levels of thinking, you know. Go back and study Jesus and the Essenes and those people he was associated with, the agnostics, and understand what they learned about raw foods. This is not something new. This is something that's been way back in Jesus' time, Buddha's time. Keep on going back, baby, because this has been man's problem. He's walked down the wrong path of diets, and his consciousness has suffered from it. Dietarily speaking, you know where I'm going. I'm going to fruits, berries, and melons. If you can tolerate that fast of a detox, go to fruits, berries, and melons all day long and a salad at night. There are times you want to kick it up, because if you have a chronic, you have very backed up lymph systems. It's going to take you a while. There's no treatment-based remedy that cures anything. Just realize that. And that isn't hard to realize. And you don't have to be intellectual, but realize if you just take a look, symptom-based treatment rarely cures anything. It is fixing the cause of one's problem that always fixes it. Simple to understand, but that's the point. In intellectualism, it's got us trapped in treatment-based thinking. And it's continuing to go. Now it's into genes and it's into wild things that we're going to know. We'll find someday the answers. That's the kind of world people like this guy likes to live in. Those kind of non-factual, non-reality. I mean, that's where creation takes you even deeper into playland, where there's no reality, gets even messed up more. Same problem there we have in all of us. The movement to a completely raw food diet. That's changing the record. It's changing the imprints. Well, that's about the truth. In one way of thinking, you feeding your child mac and cheese and meats and milks, it's child abuse. It really is, because what you're doing to your children, you have no clue to what's... And people bitching about no money and medical expenses, who you're going to be living with. Those people are probably going to go to the medical world first. And these poor babies, I feel sorry for those souls. They're the ones that have no control right now, and they have to take what they get from the parents. Toxicity from chemicals, including sulfur toxicity from antibiotics and other sulfa drugs. And yet they're pushing MSM, glucosamine. One guy said, my dog has no pain no more. I can give you sulfur compounds and you'll feel that for a while. But behind that, everything is continuing to go down. The knees, everything is continuing to deteriorate. This guy praises sulfur. This guy praises sulfur as it cleans the dandruff off the head and blah, 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 blah. Sulfur has antifungal properties. Bull crap. That is a lie. Sulfur does not have antifungal properties. You see the opposite with sulfur involvement, as I've been talking to you about. This guy is way off beat, and yet he wrote an article in Vegetarian Times. You should have sulfur. It cleans your symptoms. Yeah, it cleans them all right. It suppresses them. It suppresses your lymph system. And that's what we've seen in the eyes. This is what we see in people's symptoms. And don't get trapped with these kind of medical doctors that haven't got a clue about truth. And that used to really upset me, because they give misinformation. The misinformation gets out there. People get confused. And what we have is a confused society in natural health. I don't like the word supplements either, to tell you the truth, because supplements really donate more isolates. And isolates is where we go in with our ego and think we know better about chemistry than nature does. And then we try to put these formulas together. No, you got to use this because it treats this symptom and that. Notice when you use supplements that you will always need them. Because when you come off of them, your symptoms come right back. Because you're doing the same thing with supplements that you were doing with pharmaceuticals, except you don't have the toxic side effects. But you can unbalance body chemistry, and there have been some people that had serious problems with supplements. If they're not herbal, flower essence, or essential oils, I don't even look at them. Because it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to use them. I don't use inert dirt. I don't get my head down in the ground. We got to get our head up out of the earth, not into the earth. So man's fixated with minerals. So suddenly minerals cures everything. No, they don't, and their electrical charges are low, and they're not readily absorbed. So you see the gig of minerals is trying to get minerals that are more bioavailable, more absorbable. The problem is their charges are low, and they become obstructive. They're more stimulants. We don't want stimulants. We want dynamic cell performance. I like that. Dynamic cell performance. That you can't treat diseases. They belong to the medical doctors. Well, let them have it! When you use the word cure, it implies that you have a disease. And if you have cancer, it's not a disease. It's simply extreme acidosis. Location, location, location. We're not disease treaters. That's the worst thing you could do. Those that treat diseases never win, always fail, and die early. You just can't do that. There's no such thing as diseases in the first place. This is all an illusionary hype. But it makes money. We get locked in that like we've caught something. We contracted something. And this isn't the case. We have to understand we create things. But we also uncreate things too. What you create, you can uncreate. This is creation. You got both sides. The obstruction to the flow of energy equals dis-ease. You could say, safely say, the allopathic community cannot cure MS, never has and never will. You could say that, and you would be spot on. But you can't say that about naturopaths, because Wa has done thousands of these cases. It's that way because of medicals. The treatment. We treat this disease. Get rid of those words treat and get rid of those words cure and disease. You're going to get to Wellville. I like the word cure myself because you are curing yourself from a problem, but not from a disease, because they don't exist. If you live in the world of diseases, your life will be hell. If you get away from this ridiculous concept and you get into actualities, facts, then you're more empowered to do something about it. You're not left to some insane maniacs that think pharmaceuticals is the next best thing to honey. Our field is about health. And interestingly, though, when you get your body healthy, there is no cancer left in it. There is no diseases in it anymore. Oh, and it's a better focus because it's a positive focus. When you're trying to battle, no one wins when you try to treat or battle a disease. You notice that? Nobody wins. Because you can't win. You're not focusing on the reality of it. You're treating it like it's something that's outside of yourself that you have no control over. And so in goes the suppressive drugs of antibiotics and inhalers, and it's on and on and on. And one has to understand that this cancer consciousness is a hype. Understand what acids are, or high bases, but in this case, understand what acids are. This is acidosis. And this they treat with acidosis. I mean, if you're a chemist and you don't understand that, then I don't know, you weren't listening? But real serious problems here with this kind of level of thinking. This whole idea, and it goes on to talk about the starvation of a cell for sugar. Because if you starve a cancer cell for sugar, you can cure cancer that way. And that is idiocy. That is totally unreal statement. And so this is ridiculous. The concept of starving a cell, a cancer cell of carbon, is idiocy. The whole understanding of it's ridiculous. You can't starve the body for sugars. That's insane. That's not going to happen. Carbon is sugar. This concept of sugar is ridiculous too. There's so many different levels of sugar as there are amino acids and proteins. And it's all divided up into pHs like we said before, but fuel is the essential need of every cell. If you were a chemist, you'd know that bases can be just as corrosive as acids, and absolutely said that. But that's not what man's dealing with. Once in a while you see high alkalosis. But as a rule, most of what we see is acidosis. And I've made that statement before. You must not have reviewed the videos, my friend. When we're looking at cellular waste, we're not looking at alkalis, we're looking at acids. And I think that this idea of alkalosis by the allopathy has been part of the problem, and that ties right into Mercola and this ketogenic diet, this ridiculous high-fat, high-protein diet. That kind of fits into what some of modern biochemistry thinking, and I think that's ridiculous. It's theory loaded with theories, and it holds no water. You know, I've seen on our health program, stomach cancer gone in 56 days, as I've said. Newspaper observed that one. We've seen, I had a young girl in France with a lymphoma gone in 45 days on fruit fast. I mean, I've had some quick turnarounds. But generally speaking, easy 3, 4, 5, 6 months to 8 months. Now, we're not talking about treating those things, but we're talking about going down the road of health. You start kicking out those tumors, you start kicking out the acids and rebuilding the cells, and as you go down, all these diseases just seem to all disappear. Interesting. Remember how we talk about the GI tract is the trunk of the tree, the liver is a branch, the pancreas is a branch, the spleen is a branch, the head is a branch, the lungs are branches, the hearts are branches. Clean up the gut. To drain this, clean up the GI tract and clean up the kidneys and things, and you'll be good with that. And the problem is there's no remedy, and it's a toxic killing machine. Can you imagine? We're forced to buy into a toxic killing machine. Oh, so yes. That brings my warrior out. Absolutely, it does. Not because I mean, this is just a creation, but still can't keep going down this road. It's time to bring the balance of the higher consciousness back. The negative is listed too long down here. Too much control. Too many people suffering. But remember, karma guides your light. So always give love, truth, respect, humility. Have ethics in your life, and that's exactly what you'll get back. I think medical doctors kind of embrace that as their protective shield and says, I don't know, but it's an autoimmune problem. Bull crap. As you see, the medical mafia is a major part of the decline of the financial and economic picture of the world. That healthcare system isn't just about the money, it's the killing machine it has become. And there's no walking lightly on this truth. We can't walk lightly anymore. Take a look at your children. Can't walk lightly anymore on this planet. Truth needs to be opened up and the sun shine bright in facts, in happiness, in joys, and in simplicity. Pharmaceuticals scare me to death. I have to tell you guys, I just can't imagine why we as a civilized world will allow these guys to keep making these products and the FDA keep approving them, knowing that 2 or 3 or 4% gets killed, another 5% has strokes and heart attacks. Pretty soon you're up to 20% of the people that take the drug have serious side effects. Allopathic which is medical, has no cure for anything, if you haven't noticed. So why do people keep going to these people? There's no cure. The only time a medical doctor has a cure is when they step over and say, oh, I like what you guys are doing. Well, absolutely, because we're in the actual health side of it. And a lot of the medical people are giving diet recommendations. Now, that's practicing naturopathy without a license, guys. And you came after us for practicing medicine without a license. That's practicing naturopathy without a license, because diet and this whole 9 yards falls under naturopathy. I've had other symptoms not listed here. I had to have my thyroid removed and a hysterectomy. Whew. Well, the medical professionals, everything's untreatable. They can't cure crap. They can't cure anything. So going to a medical doctor, don't get frustrated. I do, because it's a consciousness they've emanated, which is false and wrong and a lie. It must be easy to be a medical doctor. They see 40 to 50 clients a day, prescribe a little antibiotic all the time. Well, that's easy. I'm going to tell you, if a medical doctor sits in my chair and has to do this, he wouldn't do it much. I've had medical doctors sit here and say, there's no way I'm going to do what you do. I mean, it's just the way it is. You don't make the money, and obviously, you don't have to know a lot. No offense to any good medical doctor out there, no offense, but I mean, we got hurting people out here. You can't keep riding that bandwagon. You've got to get yourself, roll up your sleeves and start getting into what's causing these people's problems. Theories here, theories there, theories abound. The problem with theories is, look at allopathy. It's supposed to be a scientific organization. Ha! If that's the kind of science we have to deal with, look at the rate of deaths and people that have been damaged. Extremely so, down to not so much. You see tremendous amount, hundreds and hundreds, millions actually, that have been killed, destroyed, damaged from that thinking. So that thinking has to go away right now. Learn what we can from it, throw the rest away, and come to a higher level of healing. All you medical doctors, if you're listening to this, bring yourself up to a higher level of healing. Your heart will grow, you'll be loved more, your patients will actually hug you instead of cuss you, and you will actually be able to feel good about yourself because you were able to give that person a remedy. And you can't use toxic chemicals anymore. It's a no-brainer. Yet there's some old medical doctors sit there and fight with those toxic chemicals. Those are constipated people that need to get out of that field and quit hurting people. Stat needs, emergency medicine, love it. And if you combine homeopathics with naturopathics with allopathics, would have the best ER there ever was. I underwent a neurological examination, a magnetic resonance, EMG, muscle and blood tests, all negative. That's what I'm saying to you, and that's why it's acids. And you see this a lot, people coming in here with a lot of pain and different things, shoulders, knees, wherever. They've done the MRIs, the CAT scans, can't find anything, and the next word out of the medical doctor's mouth is all in your head. You're just imagining this. What of an insult. A medical doctor that says that's not very bright. They don't understand acid, the lymph system, and everything else. To tell somebody that came to you because they're in pain that their pain is in their head isn't professional. Because you don't know, you should say, I don't know. I'm sure most medical doctors really want to see their clients well. Those that are constipated and don't want to grow in the mind, they're just going to die on the vine. But there is a lot of beautiful medical doctors now that are sincere in wanting to help people and are open to avenues that actually work. So it does have to change, because sometimes your growth and your understanding of truth is oxymoron, or a contraire, shall I say, to that which you were educated from. You know, this is the problem with academics. You know, not all books are true. And this is one of the problems. Books are written by what? Other humans. The allopathic needs to clean their windshield off and start coming aboard here, getting with this, and then your patients will turn around and give you a big hug and kiss instead of cussing you out in my office. Because if you're a medical doctor for the right reasons, you're there to help people. And you know that you don't help people with chemicals only in stat emergencies. That emergency room docs deal with that. And you deal with health and rebuilding people's tissues and getting this acidosis out. It requires a dramatic change in what your education taught you. But that's okay. Sometimes we're taught wrong, you know, and I've been taught things that weren't true or half true. And so, okay. So if we work together, though, we'll be able to do a lot of work in this world, because the healthcare as it is crashing. A good example was a young lady from the YouTube that came in with psoriasis on the face. Started out as childhood acne, of course, and of course, what do you do in allopathy when you see something on the skin? You suppress it. What do you see when you have lung problems and mucus that you have to expectorate? You suppress it. Well, suppression today is your nightmare from hell tomorrow, is your tumor tomorrow, is all of this, and this is what we have to change. Expectoration is a better word than suppression. So what's the urine and what's the sweat? These are the eliminative organs of the gigantic sewer system, the two kidneys. The right kidney drains the right brain all the way down to the right toe, and the left. So you've got two kidneys, two adrenal glands, and you've got a skin wrapped all the way around you. And these are the elimination organs of the lymphatic system, the sewer system, the lipid carrier system from the small bowel to the liver. This is the lubricating system of the synovial fluids and eye fluids. This is a lipid-based system, a cholesterol-based system. It's mucousy. That's why you see mucus when you detoxify. Whenever a medical doctor says this is going to target just the cancer cells, start walking backwards and then run for the door, because I've had people with brain cancer and other cancers that will disagree with that theory now, because they were told targeted radiation for different cancers on the head wouldn't give them brain cancer, and came into me later with brain cancer, where I guess they must have lied. So she is... also, she said it was incurable. As long as she thinks it's incurable, it could be incurable for her. So this cousin of yours needs to look at the YouTube site, especially this video, pick herself up and say, you know what? I'm not going to take it anymore. That's right. I'm not going to take it anymore. Matter of fact, we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to get strong. We're going to get knowledged up, and we're going to rebuild tissue, because that's God's way. You can do that. And that's not meant as a cliche. That is meant as the power of the Creator. Whoever you think it is, take a look around at what it created. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is why the body has to be dealt with holistically. You can't just address the symptom somewhere, because it's a holistic problem. And this is what they just didn't get. They laughed at as holistic. Well, look who's laughing last. You know, this is the problem. Treatment, you're lucky if your treatment doesn't kill you. The fatty liver tells you immediately what? That your lymph system in your liver isn't filtering, and what's coming in to help with the acidosis? Lipids. And you can get a fatty kidney, fatty liver, fatty heart, fatty brain, fatty everything, because lipids are anti-inflammatory. So when you start to realize that, you say, uh-oh, I'm getting fat buildup immediately. Acidosis. Oh, my lymph isn't moving. Oh, my kidneys aren't filtering. Oh, my adrenals are not allowing my kidneys to filter. See how it goes? Always remember, ladies, that the pituitary controls menses. If you stop menstruating in your 30s or early 40s, you got a pituitary problem. Fix that, and you'll probably kick up your menses again until you're really done the right way. The problem with being on estrogen or any other type of hormone or steroid is that, again, you lose your glands. And to think that a gland will wake up on its own without proper diets and energetics and chemistry coming in is ridiculous. These glands just keep getting weaker and weaker and going downhill unless you wake them up again. And I love how medical doctors say, yeah, your glands will sleep, but they'll wake up healthier. I've never seen that of you. I think that is another stupid thing like autoimmune diseases. And one of the things you see a lot, of course, is what? Thyroid polyps. You know, nodules in the thyroid. These are little tumors. Just like polyps hanging from the colon. These are little tumors. Where they're coming from? They're coming from the interstitial levels. And this is in and around the cells that make up the thyroid or the bowel or wherever. This is the lymph system not going anywhere fast. And that's what you don't want because it is suppressive, but being acidic is damaging in time. This is the problem with family members. Family members like to wear the ignorant band, and they like to take their loved ones into those ignorant worlds with them. I don't know why it is. I've seen husbands and I've seen wives kill their mates because they want to go to medical doctors and have chemo. That's where their faith was. Their faith was in a treatment-based modality. They can't cure anything, and unfortunately they lost their loved ones from doing that. And this is a big, serious problem, and I'm down on these guys. These guys need to go to jail instead of oh, look, this wonder drug chemo. This is the whole facade. This is the world bankers. This is the Rockefeller. This is that whole consciousness. Get a hold of the sleeping souls. We'll take all their money. We'll kill them, and then we'll take their children's money. I mean, this is insane. This is insane, and we're buying right into that. The poor people of this country and around the world are buying right into these wacko mad scientists that nothing's based on fact. I look at this stuff and people say science, science, science. Take a look at medical doctors. They're the biggest killer of humans on the planet. What, for science? What kind of science? Pseudoscience, insane science. And yet people praise academics. I find that totally amazing on this planet. This planet is lost and this planet needs to be found again. I think truth is what this planet needs a lot of. Too bad we can't vaccinate with truth as opposed to toxic drugs. There's been a lot of FDA whistleblowers, but I think you'll see some of these major lawsuits coming that'll really open some doors because there's just nothing they're going to do about all of us that are sick of this stuff, and especially when they're hurting our babies. I mean, and they have jurisdiction over your baby, so they can hurt your baby all they want, and you can't do anything about it. That's what's going on right now. They can hurt your baby to whatever level they want, and there's nothing you can do about it. That makes me want to puke. When are we going to wake up? When is the FDA going to start acting? Man up, FDA. Don't fall for money. Man up and be the men and women that you should be and protect us as a consumer protection agency. Instead of going for the money. Oh, look, I can paste things in my house now. Oh, sorry, a bunch of people are getting killed because I allowed vaccinations. Look at the deaths from the use of pharmaceuticals. These are by the millions each year on this planet. If you find one herbal death worldwide, I would be amazed. It's possible because there are toxic herbs. Let's say we stretched it to 3 people around the world died from the use of botanicals. 3. 5. I'll stretch it to 5. None in the United States. Let's stretch it to 5. In some of these countries, they might be testing herbs against millions. And yet, parents and some people want to put their faith back to these jokers that are the #1 killer of humans. You guys got to wake up to this serious stuff. I mean, this is the problem. We have sepsis. We have sewage backing up in ourselves. Well, we can't blame viruses and bacteriums and things for enjoying food. That's their job. You can't keep them out. If you keep killing the bacteria in the body, you're killing the lymph node bacteria. Killing the lymph node bacteria will definitely walk you down the road to cancer cells, breaking down your cells. This is all insanity. It has no reality to it. The allopathy has just got to really change the way they think. Medical doctors own the world of illusion. They've created the whole concept of diseases. There's no such thing. The world is cause and effect, period, plain and simple. For every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. All the greats, the Jesuses, the Buddhas of the world have taught this. So anytime you experience something, you created it, pure, plain and simple, maybe from unawareness, but you've created this. If you ignore what you're eating, what you're breathing, what you put on your skin, and what you're drinking, you're ignoring basic facts. And if you ignore that and then you have problems, health problems, don't be mad. Don't be mad because you're the one creating this. You have to focus on what is the reality of how a cell is damaged or mutated. What does that? Back up from that. Not a disease flying around looking for people to land on. Jeez. That's what 10 years of medical school gives people? I don't think so. I think you got to understand reality here and how creation expresses itself in magnetics and chemistry and how that applies to the health of tissue. And why the two fluids in the human body, what's their job? What are they doing for you? Why the fixation on the blood? When lymph and interstitial fluid is 3/4 of the body's fluid and is the dominance side of the acid side. It's where all the pain, inflammation, all the cancers, all of that is. Why would you keep looking at blood when all the problems are in the other system? But by and large, guys, the GI tract has literally been destroyed with proteins, white flour products, these things, dairy products. These three foods, if you can even call them foods, have literally destroyed man's bowels. Well, we shift over and take a look at the two kidneys there and go, oops, they got it too. And so this is why we see so much GI tract problems and kidney problems. That should be one's main focus. And by the way, there just happen to be the eliminative organs of waste. And if you don't eliminate waste, then you start to feel it. Oh, I'm stiff, I'm sore. Ooh, I stink. You got to get your lymph system moving, which is the mucousy system. And that's why you want to see mucus coming out of your sinuses, mucus coming out of your mouth, mucus coming out of your butt, your stools, mucus coming in your urine. And if you're a female, vaginally it can come out. This is the lymph system cleaning, the body cleaning its lymph system out. Because when you look at the human body and it becomes stagnant under the acid sky, what system are we talking about? We're not talking about the blood. Stagnation of the blood would yield death. So when you're looking at detoxification, you're looking at the people suffering. What side of chemistry do you find the suffering on, and what system in the body do you find each and every time? And when you're dealing in cancers, you're dealing in lymphomas, because that's the message. It's the lymph system that's involved. The lymphatic system is the sewer system of the human body. And everyone has to get with that. And the liver is not the detoxifying organ of that system. Not even close. What first do you think, guys, you would have to do before you can see bone regeneration? There's one thing first, then there's two, and then you carry on. The first thing is you have to stop why you're losing your bones, right? And which system are we referring to? Oh boy, we're back to that lymph system. That guy has nothing to say but lymph systems. Absolutely. Because there's only two in there. Take your pick. And if you target blood, you're wrong. So you got lymph systems. And you got to get a hold of this lymph system, my friend, and get that moving. There's that guy again that is always talking about the lymphatic system. What other system would you like to blame? You remember, if you're filtering acids out of the kidneys, your urine should not be alkaline. The fact that your urine is alkaline is another proof that you're not filtering. When you have weak cells, out it goes. What does nature do with weaknesses? Out. And you have to understand that in detox too. Weaknesses, out you go. In replace of what? The new, the vigorous. Remember, fungus is moles, fungus, candida, yeast, things like this. This particular family is involved in the breakdown of sugars. Remember I gave you that example, putting a piece of bread, a piece of cheese, and a handful of grapes on the counter, kitchen counter, and see which one grows mold first? Mold. Well, you'll see the cheese and the bread, not the grapes. Now, why not the grapes? Well, because the grapes aren't dead yet. As the grapes start to die, they start what process? Fermentation. Who assists in that process? Ha, there you go. Fungus. Absolutely. And so when you don't metabolize sugars properly in your diet, you have to have somebody helping because fermentation starts to settle in. Just like not digesting your foods, what happens? Fermentation and putrefaction settle in. So you have to have somebody here to help you. If things just don't happen in the atmosphere without anything, there's always a chemistry or a microbe involved in the processes to keep nature balanced. And you have to respect those guys because God put it all together. The problem with allopathy is, they're the problem, and that's a big duh. The use of antibiotics has hurt man so bad it's not even funny. If you looked at it, the use of antibiotics always sets you up for the cancers, always. So if you're having trouble with monosaccharides, fructose, glucose, galactose, guess what trouble you're going to have with polysaccharides, your rices and your breads, things like that, your grains. You're going to have much more problems with those. Well, what if you're not metabolizing that level of sugar? Not only does your blood sugar go up, but guess what else has to come in and help you with that? Fungus. If you really start to look at our digestive issues and the fact that we're high-starch people, that we have weak adrenals, that we don't metabolize our sugars, that we don't digest well, it's easy to understand why we have so much fermentation and why we have so much candida problems. Do we blame the candida for the problem? No, that's nature. You can't blame nature for our problems. We're the one that does this. Can't blame God for that. We're used to eating all these complex carbohydrates, which is called starch, and we have weak adrenal glands, can't metabolize that level of starch. You're going to have fermentation. It's just going to be a natural process. When the adrenals are down, your corticosteroids are down, you're going to see the additional use of cholesterol. Whenever you see weaker adrenals in someone, you start to see the cholesterol plaquing more. It just goes hand in hand with that whole process of acidosis, not removing cellular waste or acids, etc., etc., etc. Also, people have told me that we have to eat meat because of the B12. And here's that B12 crap again. I can tell you can go back and forth the B12 thing. You have those that say it's fruits and vegetables. Now, B12 to me is a cofactor. It isn't an actual vitamin that you get in foods. It is a byproduct of metabolism. So, that again, I don't even play in that world. I don't even go there because it's not even worth it. My client, I see tons and tons of blood work here. And when you're detoxing on a good diet, your adrenals are working and metabolizing properly, your B12s will be proper. And you notice that you see low B12s, low Ds, and low iron with weak adrenals. Do you ever notice that? You'll see that every time. Work on your adrenals, you might see something interesting. Also clean out your liver and gallbladder too. I understand that diseases are related to the acidity that I had already understood, but you have enlightened. Oh, thanks, man. But I have two questions. How do we heal the hemorrhoids, and do you think that emotions created diseases? No, but I think emotions are controlled by what gland? The adrenal glands, and they sit on what organs? Kidneys. So when the adrenals are under stress, or you're under stress, you notice that you're going to see your adrenalines coming. We must bring these creatinine levels down to 0.3 to 0.7. I think that should be the norms for kidney creatines, because when you're above 7, you're getting in trouble, and you'll see it symptomatically with your inflammation, your pains, your swellings, your tumors. You'll see all that. So it is vital to work on the kidneys, and that which controls the kidneys sits proudly on top of them, the adrenal glands. That's where your chronic fatigues, that's where your sugar metabolisms, that's where your autonomic nervous system comes into. The adrenals are huge. The high impact of minerals in the human body, this whole focus has been beat up so bad, and yet there's a lot of claims. Well, if I pump heavy minerals into the body, they act then as stimulants. And then you'll find some of your symptoms going away. It's just like calcium. I pump your body with calcium. As long as I have a fairly decent parathyroid, I won't give you arthritis. But I can strengthen some fingernails and stuff, and then take you off of the calcium, and guess what happens to your fingernails? They go back, because there's no curative issue with minerals. I saw on the news this guy holding this sign, need a kidney. So the guy standing on the street corner wanting somebody to give him a kidney. So this lady said, I decided I would help this poor man and give him one of my kidneys. Please, we've got to teach people how to regenerate kidney tissue and not pull them out of other people who need them desperately. Do not tell people how to regenerate their kidney tissue. It's a real good tissue to regenerate, and that's essential to regenerate. This whole thing is medically focused, and this is the problem. Now we're begging for other people's organs. This is out of control. This is out of sight. There's no responsibility on the individual, and there's no responsibility on the rebuilding of the individual. What are you trying to do? What is a cold and flu-like symptom? Does it match a detoxification symptom? Why? Think about this logically, and I say don't think, but there's a time where you got to not think, but overview. And I like that, because if you think, you'll get lost. If you overview, you won't. An overview means, what's the symptoms of a cold? Fever? I can't believe man has almost forgot what fevers are for. Medical doctors have no clue. When you go to school and you study fevers as a bad thing, you're going to bad school. It's a universal issue, and it's real easy to understand. And when a school teaches you have to treat fevers, that school needs to close up. I don't care what it is. It could be naturopathic school, because fevers are what God has set to increase dilation of what? The skin. And what role does the skin play? It's your third kidney. It's in your face for that. If you get a cold, it's in your face that you're the problem, not nature. Nature's just there to help you, not to hurt you. But if you don't follow the laws, then it can hurt you. And we don't follow the laws. We're listening to medical thinking. They don't have a clue about nature of the laws. They're synthetic. They live in laboratories that are sitting there with no clue. They're into nano levels, thinking they'll find the mystery of all things. They'll be in there till hell freezes over, while you guys will be brilliant beings giving love to the universe in a healthy way. Health is simple. We got to get back to simplicity, because we've gotten too intellectual, so therefore we're so narcissistic, we're lost, we judge others, we kill others. Come on. Now just remember, though, a blood test is a fraction of truth. Fraction. The obstruction to the flow of energy equals dis-ease. This problem, and some people get cancer and say, oh, my cancer's moved to my lungs, my cancer's moved to my liver now it's in my bones. I have news for you. By the time you see cancer in one place, your lymph system's backed up head to toe. And your problem is everywhere. And that's what people don't get. They look at it as a disease and, oh, look, I have a problem. I've got liver cancer. Oh, no, you're backed up in the bowels. You're backed up all the way in the head, the pancreas. And that's why we see the hot spots. And that's why we see, oh, look, it moved on you. It didn't move. It was already burning on you. It takes a while to break down a cell and make it a cancer cell. I'm trying to alkalize my body to create a bad environment for cancer to live in. So I do. Well, you realize it's not a disease. It's living on its own. It's not a living, breathing entity that's inside of you that's attacking you. That's what medical doctors want you to think. And you got to get away from that kind of thinking, because that's not how it is at all. We've got acids, we got chemistry, we got physics. Simple sugars is required by every cell. You cannot starve a cancer cell because that cell likes sugar. All cells like sugar. But you can't starve a cancer cell for sugar without starving the rest of your cells. You've got to get with this. The lymphatic system. That's how your cells that are damaged go. They don't have to be cancer cells. All damaged cells got to go where? To the lymph nodes. Why to the lymph nodes? Macrophages, that's your immune cells that gobble up other cells. Bacteria is not gobbling up cells, they're after the acids. So getting this down is important to understand how the body works. And then you go, oh yeah, I see that. I understand that. It's simple. Even children can learn this. You can't, for the sake of a few damaged cells from your lymph system not moving, and you're killing billions of them? I mean, that's insane. Disease isn't an entity with its own consciousness, and as soon as we learn that, we'll take a heavy burden off of ourselves, and we'll free ourselves from the addiction of allopathic medicine, which is doing nothing but killing most people. Cancer is nothing but a damaged cell. How about a tumor? Someone says strict sugar feeds a tumor. Feeds a tumor. What's a tumor? You know, people have to understand what these things are, and definitely how ignorant the allopathic community is when it comes to these sort of concepts of diseases, because there's no cure for diseases. And you'll never find one anywhere, because it doesn't exist, because they don't exist. Nature doesn't look in the world of diseases. They don't think in the world of diseases. Nature thinks in the world of chemistry and physics. If I'm a medical doctor and I go by his blood work, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. That pain must be in your head. That's the kind of crap you hear all the time. And that's just what it is. Just like this gentleman Paul just said, some guy was talking way over his head, trying to show the mechanisms of inflammation, but he's still not understanding what initiates the mechanism of inflammation, because inflammation is definitely an immune response. To what, Mr. Medical Doctor? To what? Bacteria? That's as stupid thinking as you get. Rare does your immune system go after your bacteria because it lives in harmony with them. And the reason is bacteria is part of the sewer department that breaks down acids. You don't hit the kidneys with a 3 pH acid that the cells are discharging. You don't do that. So there's a lymph node between the cell and the kidney to take care of that problem, and that lymph node is full of what? Bacteria. And bacteria help to break down acids. Thank you guys, appreciate it, because I don't want those to hit my kidneys. I love you guys. But what appears to some people as being healthy isn't really healthy. You know, I had a couple in yesterday, and he said, well, I've been to medical doctors, and I'm pretty healthy. They didn't find anything wrong. And I said, but I didn't examine you. I mean, we're looking at everything in the body and how it's working. We're looking at stats a lot closer. We're looking where you're going. We care for people so much more. It's unbelievable. And we give them the time. My appointments are 2 hours, initial appointments, because I'm looking at I'm looking at your stats, I'm looking at everything. I'm showing your eyes, I'm showing you your whole body. That is a true physical, not these pseudo-physicals. You go to an MD and, you're good. You know, here's another thing. When you see balding people, and look at all the 20 and 30-year-olds, we talked about this yesterday, all the balding people out there, that's serious. People laugh at me when I say I want to put hair. That guy was going, oh, you can put, oh no. The reason you don't have hair is acidosis, and that's the same reason for dementia and Alzheimer's. Also do a coffee enema every day. Stimulation, hyper stimulation, just like hypercoagulation. No, no, no. Dairy proteins obviously are the most. They should be terminated off the planet. These are causing people the most serious problems in the lymphatic system. Almond milk, what are you drinking it for? You don't need it. Why do we use milk and think milk at any level is good for you? Whether it's almond milk, rice milk, who cares? Soy milk, it's all crap. Soy being the worst, of course, but it's all crap. What do we need it for? If you're going to use a smoothie, use fruit juice as your base. Don't use a milk as your base. If I can't get organic berries, is it better not to get them at all? Heck no. Get a veggie wash and wash everything. It's like, well, listen, I can't get organic, so I'm just going to go ahead and have my meat and my starches. Come on. I have a question about the herbs. Is the liquid herb stronger than the capsules? No. I thought so, but no. What we're finding is the capsules are much more stronger than the liquid. After endless digging, I discovered that possibly several old amalgam fillings from childhood may have been damaging my nervous system all along. You know what? I mean, that's a stretch, although, you know, mercury does love the brain, no question, but what does it set? It sets up inflammation, or what's another word? Acidosis. It's the acids that's breaking you down. You can blame the amalgams to get them out, but it's your lymph system you're having a problem with. This isn't all amalgam fillings. Yeah, there's people who would like to blame that for everything, and yes, I concur, get them out, and yes, I felt different after mine was out. Absolutely. And I do know mercury and aluminum love brain tissue, and nothing good ever comes of this, and mercury is a neurotoxin. Yes, 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 yes. At the same time, this is much more than neurological, and it becomes neurological, then that's even more of a nightmare, because you have to rebuild, and now you're all on fruit. So really, you want to get after this quick, dear. When you exercise and you don't move lymph, you create more acidosis, and therefore more pain and breakdown if you're not filtering. If you don't filter, you've got to think about that. And I can tell you, when you're detoxifying, don't go be working out, because it's in my face again. And sometime I'll show you with a couple cases I'm working with, 2 breast cancer cases, and I didn't realize this one girl is out working her butt off, and of course now it's getting worse because she's working so hard and moving around so much that she's not resting. So not only are the adrenals focused on epinephrine and norepinephrine, nothing's working. And if you're not sweating, look at your thyroid, because your basal temperatures under your arm is probably below, say, 97, 97.1. You're not going to sweat well below 97 in the 96s. Healing is a relaxation mode. You want to relax. No one said you had to do the hard time on this rock. Relax a little bit. Our governments is what's got us stressed out and overtaxed and everything else, and we created that, so we need to uncreate that. Only the people can do this. Only the people. Just like they did in the election in the States. Only the people can save its own country. You'll see what's coming. Pretty cool stuff, I think. Cool stuff. I really have tried through my life not to develop opinions, but to develop actualities and understandings by what I see, because I really have no motive. I really stand for truth at every level, and I really don't have a motive to augment something that for some other reason. I don't have anything. Truth is the only thing that stands tall and firm in life. And so most of what I'm giving you in terms of information is just what we've seen, what we've been through for all these years of detoxification and all the clients, all the people we've worked with through the years, and what I've seen work and not work. Some of the fallacies out there, like drinking all this water. That's a fallacy. Some people that do that can end up in the emergency room not breathing well, congestive heart failure, pulmonary edema. When you're highly acidic, you do not sit there and drink a lot of water, or you'll get bloated. You'll start holding water wherever the acids are. That's part of, remember, calcium, cholesterol, and edema, water, the three main acids or protocols the body uses to protect itself against excessive acidosis. Some of the stupidity out there is so high, it's unreal. And that includes drink gallons of water. We just had a lady, her legs swell up and got bigger and bigger, and she's been on the program, and you know, those guys missed it out there, and it's like, how much water are you drinking? She says, I drink lots of water. I said, quit it. When you're highly acidic and someone tells you drink lots of water, what do you expect to happen? Exactly, edema. You're going to start holding part of that process of hydration. The problem is holding too much water leads to congestive heart failure, pulmonary edema, not good. You don't do that. Drinking water is not curative anyway. And you might feel a little better, but hydrate on fruit juices. That way you have some power of astringents to move lymph, you have your electrolytes, you have all the things that will slowly begin to move interstitial fluid and create true base homeostasis interstitially. Going to take a while because you have miles of interstitial fluids, but at least the process will begin. So, I mean, it's all, even though they call it breast, they call it liver, it's all lymph. It's all lymph. They got different names, breast, bowel. It's all the lymph system. Not one of them is not the lymph system. Just different locations, we have a different name for it. You know why medical doctors like to watch things? Because they have no clue how to fix it. If you have a clue how to fix something, you don't sit there and watch it. Look, your alternator's bad, but we'll just watch it. Huh. You don't do stuff like that. This lady, this poor 30-year-old I have with a 3-year-old girl, started out with a brain tumor. We're just going to watch it. Now they watched it so long they can't even operate on it, and we're her only hope. And Jesus, it's a little late. It's a 3-year-old girl. The current science we have now, a lot of it's theories. Just get a book on chemistry and start reading about the different theories. So where do you bridge theory from actuality? In clinicals. Right where you're working on the person itself. What works, what doesn't work. Forget science, what works and what doesn't work. You know enough about science in terms of chemistry to understand what side is the problem, but even if you didn't know that, and all you knew is how to clean people out and strengthen the body up, that's all you'd need to know. Allopathy just focuses on the microbes, and then of course the different theories, the theories. And again, here's a big theory that has led man down to hell, Bill. The theory of pathogens, of microbes, of bacterium. So now we're vaccinated out the butt. We are full of antibiotics, which destroys the bacteria in the body. You notice those who've had the most antibiotics have the most problems. They have the arthritises. They have the serious cancers. Why? Because you've killed your bacteria in your body. You need causative modality as naturopathy. Always been, always has been, always will be. Naturopathy is simply just a word coined by Benedict Lust, meaning the laws of nature. That nature past follow the laws of nature, understand the laws of nature, understand the laws of man to the point that we don't get so much into theories, and understand how chemistry and physics impacts the cell. And understanding that, that's what naturopathy is. It's a pure science. It's not treatment-based thinking. It doesn't use isolates, meaning taking chemistry out of the whole and making some kind of chemical element or compound or something. It doesn't deal with that. It deals with causative factors. That's why I found through the years that a nice herbal protocol along with a raw food diet, you're on the top of the mountain, baby. Nothing can beat that. There isn't anything can beat that. Homeopathics, nothing beats that level. You're at the top level. It's just a matter of time and a matter of your consciousness. That's why opening your consciousness and controlling the mind instead of it controlling you. Live out of your mind and you'll see the answers of life. Get into the mind. It's a totally conditioned instrument. It only works from conditioned thoughts and thinking. So detoxification is the only answer because detoxification is cleaning of the human body. And if somebody thinks that cleaning the human body out is ridiculous, then maybe you're on the wrong channel because you really have to clean your human body out, just like you clean your car out. Except that we're much more sensitive to toxins than your car is. Why you ignore liver most of the time? That was a good question. Nah, because everybody thinks the liver's the problem, and I disagree with that. The liver's just an effect like everybody else. The liver's a chemical manufacturing organ. We tend to think the liver's the detoxifying organ of the body, blah, 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 blah. I disagree with that thinking. If you don't supply sugar to your body, guess what your liver's going to do? It's going to seek fat and break it down into sugar. Because you have to have sugar. You can't get away from it. And if you burn all your fat out of your body, breaking down to sugar, guess what's next? Your structure. Protein is not burned for energy, but if you have to burn a protein, an amino acid, and break it down to a glucose, you're in serious trouble. You will notice that it's hard. It's hard to just stop thinking because the mind just keeps wanting to think and plan, and because that's we've been trained. We've trained, and our society is hot on training the mind and emotions so the social consciousness can mold you in the way it needs you to fit into their social consciousness. That's the social consciousness. Important for life to exist in an unconscious way, but a lot of you guys are becoming conscious. That means more awakened, more aware of life and all its little intricacies all around you. And you're seeing more because you're thinking less. And that is the mark of a spiritual giant, is those that think less and give love more. You've got to try and attempt to get inside of yourself and grab what you know and keep yourself balanced right now because the negative forces are pulling and ripping and everything else. And we must stand strong with love and beauty and joy and happiness. We must give that forth so everyone else can have that. We must stand against the negative forces. If you don't, you'll be swallowed up by them, I guarantee you. So we have to be strong. And you're standing strong with a large group of people in the world now doing the fruits and the berries and the melons and the vegetables. And the only way to get into balance is eat balance. Start consuming everything in balance. If you try to use chemistry, oh, I'm out of this, I'm deficient in this, I'm doing that, you'll get more out of balance. Been there, done that one. And that's the one you want to get rid of. Minerals and all this. Start eating foods that will bring your body into balance and clean it out. And that's fruits, berries, melons, and salads, green drinks. Let your body bring itself into balance with chemistry that is total, that is complete. And then your body will get itself into balance. It'll kick out what it's not. It'll repair itself and all of that. Using the herbs is just using your smarts to know which tissue that you know you have a problem with. The outside world judges when they don't even have a clue to what they're even judging. So that's the problem we fight as spiritual people, the judgment of others from their lack of awareness and lack of understanding. And I think it's important that we teach also to teach people to get away from that too. It's locking them into negativity. And we want to bring that high spiritual love, joy, beauty out, however you choose to do that. But again, creation is both sides. And you will have those negative people, you will have those negative influences, and you will have that. That is nature, that is the way it is. A lot of people are watching the Kardashians and, oh, I wish I could be just like her. She's such a pretty woman and she's so rich and she's such a... No, that's the problem. We live in a world where we want to be like because they're better looking or they have more money. No, we can't do that. That's what we're doing. We're promoting to be something other than yourself instead of promoting be yourself. If we promoted be yourself around the world, we wouldn't be fighting each other. We would be enjoying each other's differences. Hey, man, you're cool. Instead of, hey, man, you don't look, I'm going to kill you. You don't look like me. I mean, we just got to change this, And the obstruction to the flow of energy equals dis-ease. You notice the spiritual people are fruit lovers? Why? Because that's the nectar of the gods. You don't see gods down digging potatoes out of the ground, picking. Ah, baby. As you see foods growing close to the ground, there are foods under the ground, heavy starches, heavy on you, hard to digest, too complex. The lighter, the more etheric. Most of you are experiencing a heightened sense of happiness now, a higher sense of self and motivation. That's because you're consuming that. You're consuming these higher forms of energetics and consciousness, and therefore it's giving you that. It's like, oh wow, this is cool. Absolutely, and that's how you find your happiness. You can't be consuming earthly, more mineralized food and think this is healthy. And we just have we're into minerals, heavy minerals. I just disagree with that thinking. Sorry. You guys are going to make the best healers. Forget naturopathic school. You guys are already doing it on yourselves. There's nobody that makes better healers than those that heal themselves. I mean, you don't learn this in school. You learn basic stuff. But remember, a lot of theories we learn is not even true. So it's really hard to sift through that which is true and that which is not. So I think simplicity has always been the great answer for us. Then your only choice is to do what you would want to do to get healthy anyway, and that is clean the body out. I think cleaning the body out is just one of the processes that's common sense, simplistic, easy for the average person to understand, too simplistic for the intellectual, of course, but in that process of cleansing or detoxification, whichever you prefer to call it, you're going to see then the ability of the body to repair itself. It's easy to move in and out of the body when the body's healthy. When your body's energetic and healthy, it's easy for you to leave it and move around the universes of God. It's harder to leave the body the more pain it is because that nervous system just locks your attention right into that body. And you have to be careful, always watchful at the doorway of the ego, because it can come at the time you're least expected and shine its little head up big and strong. But that's not what we want, because it doesn't matter. We're all one. And we're all working together as a team. Not one of you is better than another. I'm no better than you guys, or less. We're all the same. We're all part of that shattered mirror of God, of the whole. And that's the beauty of all that, Try just spending a day in just observation, just watching things go on around you. Watch your own thoughts come in, and when they start to come in and you start thinking, stop that, or you'll lose the now, and you'll be lost in thought processes. And joy and happiness isn't about the toys and the tools of life. It's about understanding and enjoying yourself for what you already are. Not your thought processes, not your desires, not your emotions, but who you are, just as a being, a beautiful being that doesn't have to do anything to radiate beauty. You don't have to think anyway. You don't have to plan anyway. You don't have to look anyway to be beautiful. Because you already are. The magnificence of each and every one of you is incredible. The allness of each and every one of you. We each are on our little journeys of thought processes and creating things and playing with the tools of creation. But we should never forget that these are simply the toys of creation that create your drama for you, and it isn't who you really are. And once we break that, we break our opinions, we break all these concepts, and then things just doesn't matter. What works in the moment, and each moment is a new moment for you in your life. Nothing is ever static. If you want everything to be the same in creation, you can forget that, because creation doesn't show you that. Creation shows you constant change, constant growth, and it's a beautiful thing when you look at that. So I do appreciate each and every one of you. The Facebook people are incredible. Don't let the negative forces come in and grab you, and thought is part of the negative forces. Cosmic consciousness is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had, and you all will experience that, and that's already in you. And that is where you are lifted into the pure mind that I talk about. That is called cosmic consciousness, or another word in Christianity was Christ consciousness. That is when you see that all life is one. Everything you feel, everything you see, every individual you see, everything you see in that realm is you. Be the one with the wisdom. Don't just have faith in God. You are here because of God. You are God in expressing itself. How do you think God experiences life? It's through its creation. Remember, Christianity teaches the whole thing. God is omnipresent. God is the one. God is the all. The all in the all. There is nothing but God. So you have to understand that. If you're a Christian, you have to understand that. Meaning that no matter if you're a Muslim, no matter who you are, you're an expression of God. And we all have to realize that. And then it's hugs and kisses all around instead of bombs. Remember karma, or you reap what you sow. Doesn't matter who said it, whether it was Jesus or Buddha or Mohammed. Doesn't matter. They are simply telling you that your actions are exactly what your experience is going to be. And so it's real important to understand that, especially in the world of spirituality, because you give love, you get love. You give anger and hate, that's what you get. I disagree that all diseases are from the mind in that sense. I mean, you could look from that perspective and say that, but I'm very hooked with a lot of spiritual people, and there's a lot of super positive thinkers. There's only a few that can manifest astrally into this world, but there's a lot of pure positive thinkers, and I've never seen one completely eliminate disease out of their body. You're in a physical world, you have physical laws, and you must follow the physical universe. The mental world has mental laws, and you follow that universe. The trouble is they're so intermingled that we think the mind can, we can move that, and we do create with the mind, no question. But we also have a process of that, and you have to be in line with the laws, because there are the natural laws of each universe that you can't go around. I don't know too many people that go around them. I know people that can manifest, but there's only a few masters that have been able to manifest it from the astral world into this world. It manifests, but it takes time and through a process. So yeah, positive thoughts, but you're still using your mind. And in consciousness, thoughts of any nature, negative or positive, is an obstruction. It's just how we look at things, you look at the mind as opposed to different from yourself, your emotions. These are not you. These are tools you use. And it's hard because the way God has this so intertwined that you hardly know that when you have a feeling, it's not you, it's a body that you're using. It's so well done that it is definitely hard to break the illusion unless you have some help with that. You guys are really seeing it, and I'm real proud of every one of you. I want you to know that. You guys are really doing a good job on yourselves. You're breaking some of these ridiculous myths that came about in I don't know how. Closed-minded, unaware people. See, you guys are so cool. I love that. And you know what? There's nothing more rewarding than to help people. And your hearts will grow, your love will grow, your godliness will grow, your ability to see and know life and how it works will grow, your ability to learn more about the God worlds beyond this world will grow. I mean, neat things. New doors of fascination and neat things now. The same old stuff here on the rock. We wouldn't know these connective links if it wasn't for iridology. So people can boo-hoo iridology all they want. I love it. Incredible science. Simple one, too. Everybody can learn it. You know, the big guys don't want all you guys to know a lot of these little secrets, don't they? And you know what? Don't feel like you have to have your doctorate degree and you had 10 years of study. That generally breeds ignorance. So really don't feel you have to have this. Life is so much more simpler. We've just got caught up in the academics. There's no magic out there, guys. That's why this is so important. You guys are so good. I can't believe it. I keep talking to you YouTubers and you're writing your own protocols, and I'm amazed at how good you guys are. You're going to make some of the world's finest healers. And I tell you, don't let anybody bring you down. Don't let anybody steal your joy. You guys don't have to have college educations. The world of healing is simple. Jesus taught that. Buddha taught that. All these spiritual giants taught that, but people just ignored them. They like the complex. They like the intellectualism. It sounds good. Sounds good. So we need to all get simplistic and stop the roar of intellectualism for a while and get ourselves balanced within that and the mind and yourself, the soul. You must get a hold of the mind. Overpraising of the mind builds narcissism, and if you haven't noticed, this world is literally crammed full of narcissistic individuals. We use herbs. Herbs are not for diseases. That's man-made. Herbs are for body tissues and body fluids. Stop reading others and connect with the now and what's real. And we're just sitting there, and here's all our congressmen, everybody with all these ties choking themselves up, and they just look constipated. You know, sometimes professionalism breeds ignorance. And we have this ambiance or whatever it is around people with ties and professionalism, and you believe everything they say, and it's like, not a lot of us don't tend to go to those kind of people. I'd rather pick up a good old boy shop, sit around and talk with them, just straight language. You never let your government gain that much power over the people. This is fake power. Remember, the mind is the creating force of creation. And that's just it. It's not you. The mind doesn't have any self-awareness to it. It's not like it's a chunk of aware, intelligent tissue. It's a body that is like a computer. It's programmable. And it takes in information, dissimulates it, compares it, goes back, compares past to future and all this. And that's where you get in the rationales and things like this. You can program that and feed that knowledge or information all day long. That's what schools do. There are people that pick and choose what you know and what you learn. And schools are like that. I researched schools before I picked the one I went to, and I just love the academic coursework on that. What is a school? You're just reading someone else's knowledge, whether it's true or not. And it doesn't matter if you're going to Harvard, Yale, Stanford, or you're going to Brantridge. Didn't matter. And again, science is so loaded with theories, you have to separate yourself from that, or you get caught up in what you think is truth, and you're walking down a road that has nothing to do with that. And this is what happened with the medical side. They got so smart, they got unintelligent. And when you're in your mind, you think that's intelligence, and that is not intelligence. The mind is a computer. You're who's intelligent. You don't have to sit there and suffer. It might be some work to get the human body back. I won't lie about that. There's work to do, no question. You have to change your awareness, your consciousness. You have to change that. You have to now eat for yourself. Eat to make yourself healthy, not your emotions. Keep your emotions over here. There's a reason why I'm trying to get you guys away from your emotions and away from your mind. And you're seeing this one case that this guy got that. We're in a time where everybody's playing with mind control. Governments are playing with that. I mean, that's a fact. And thought processes are conditioned thinking. Your thought processes are conditioned by professors who their thought processes were conditioned, whose professors before them were conditioned by scientists who are just people that went to school from conditioned professors. We can think negatively as we can think positive, but we are not our thoughts. Our mind is not us. It is what we use. And learn that the mind is your not your enemy, but it is your biggest obstruction to God there is. And it's designed that way because if the movie's good, you'll stay around. It's time man awakens now. It's essential. And I don't even use the word man because man doesn't awaken. It's the soul. You know, man's just a physical form, whether it's male or female. You can say that about animals. These are just forms that magnetics take, that consciousness takes. This is the physical world. Not everything is as it seems. A lot of illusions out there, a lot of misinformation out there. This level itself is illusionary. Don't underestimate why you're to this YouTube site. I want to tell you, you're here on a mission and you're awakening to this, and don't let go, because you'll see why you're here, both for yourself and for the world at large. Jesus said you reap what you sow. So that's several words, but karma is one word saying the same thing. See, when you realize we're all just one, we all come out of the same God, it's we have different ways of looking at things and different ways of interpreting things, and that's what's called levels of consciousness or states of consciousness. When you let all of that go, you become one of pure consciousness. When you look back historically, there's been a lot of deaths over God, and my God's better than your God, and that's part of the drama. Because the illusion of that is that it's all one again. And that's what's happening on this site. If you haven't noticed, we're all becoming one powerful group of people. Good. So karma, if you want to stop karma, stop thinking and stop desiring. Those are the two things. In other words, stop creating. You know, thought creates. Emotions create. Stop it for a while. Realize you have everything you need. All of you on this channel is well protected. You've got a lot of spiritual beings working with us. So you're well protected. And if not, you know, call out the name of your spiritual guide, of Jesus, of Buddha, God. Call on God. Put an auric of golden light and love around you, where there's a mirror around you, where everything coming in, thoughts and feelings from others are reflexed back to them. You don't allow them in your world. Your world is what you allow in. If you want to allow something in, come on in. No, you're not going to come in here. So don't feel bad and that you're alone, because you're never alone, okay? You guys get out now and come over to my side and we'll heal up the world, and I'll show you how to do it. Because right now what's going on medically is insane, and people are learning and growing, and the use of antibiotics is ridiculous. You got to go to the herbal antibiotics if you're after that, because it's selective kill, and it's not the bacteria that's the problem, it's the acidosis. Relearn this. Get away from antiquated biochemistry theories, and let's look at clinical work, what's going on and what's happening. That's where the truth is. That's where the reality is what you can do with your clients or patients. Not what some lab thinks, not what some book thinks, what some theory of biochemistry thinks. What's actuality? So yeah, I don't want people to obsess. That's why I'm hoping that truth will resonate with you to the point that, okay, I got it, and then just go out and do it. Don't give it another thought. Keep the foundation of what we're teaching here, and don't try to get lost too far. Typically, you can get a little lost, and you have to be careful about this. You on Facebook, you have to be careful, because those that have never journeyed, this is such a high level of thinking that the mind goes, but what about minerals? But if you've not come through my world, I got rid of the buts years ago because they didn't work. How do you set the mind aside? Because you mind riders get lost in thoughts, and thoughts are totally conditioned states, conditioned by your academic schooling, conditioned by your churches, conditioned by your states, governments, things like this. The unconditioned state of you is consciousness, and the only way that you can learn truth is to stop thinking. Learn how to get past your mind, quit looking through the mind, get beyond that mind into who you really are. And then you will know the answers. Academically, people are just giving quotes from these studies that are bogus and have no basis in fact. And then sometimes, you know, there's just so much out there, and opinions and ideas, sometimes it's hard to stay focused. But you know, this is where you experiment on yourself. You know, if you take everything we're talking about in these videos and you play with that, you're going to be really happy you did. You're going to really discover what's causing all these problems that man's suffering with. But hang in there, guys. You'll get it. You guys are getting it. It's a process. And you're learning that there is no treatment-based thinking that is effective and gives you remedy. So you guys are working it out. And in working it out, you're growing spiritually. And you're getting your joys back. You're getting your memories back. You're getting your health back. You're getting your bodies back. And you're getting your ability to become aware back. Just realize that time. And some of you with genetic weaknesses, it can take a couple of years or more. Don't get upset with that, because you're talking about the genetic memories of cells. That's why you have to set a year out of your life, 2 years out of your life, and say, these 2 years are going to be for me. I'm not me ego, but me, my body. I want a good, nice body to carry me around while I'm on this planet, because someday I'm going to be parking my car and taking off. If you're having people affecting you emotionally, learn how to put that outside. Don't bring them in. And that's a problem with codependency and the way we are emotionally. That comes with the weak adrenals, a weak society, corruption everywhere you look. No one is up there pounding it good. And you're seeing it coming, though. Sometimes the less you have, the happier you are, because everything you own, you have a tie to that. Believe it or not. Oh, isn't that a pretty little thing? But you have oh, I love that. You have a tie to it, energetically speaking. And the more ties you have, energetically speaking, the less you have yourself. The more you have a little attention there, a little attention there, a little attention there, a little of your attention over there. And then all your kids and your loved ones and your families. Pretty soon, you don't know who you are, because you have your attention all over the place when you don't understand who you are, the one that has the attention. And enjoy these videos. I'm doing my best to help you, and I hope that you all find your joy and your wellness. But find your joy. You all get happy. If you got a body in pain, work it out of pain. It might take you some work. Don't lose hope. We're right here. We might be distance in space, but we're not distance in consciousness. I'm right there with you. Just close your eyes and look. I'm always there. Love you all.